Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Bristol Township Zoning Hearing Board. We're going to start. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let me introduce you to a few people before we get started. To my left, Solicitor of the Zoning Board, Ken Fetterman. We also got Director of L&I, Bob McTeague, our stenographer, Sunil O'Vara, and I'm going to call the board. Colleen Dunn. Here. Mark DeMarcus. Here. Jim McMahon, here. Okay, let's get started. A piece of our puzzle, LLC, Erin Farrell, 2031 Canyon Creek Road.
I'll note for the record, council handed up to me the certification of service and the mail-ins with return receipt cards, so we're good to go.
All right, begin.
All right, mind if I take this off? Or?
No, go right ahead.
All right, thank you very much. It is now. Okay.
Just before you begin your presentation, just to make sure we have standing here, I'm looking at a settlement date of December 21st. Was the agreement extended?
It was.
Is there an extension?
There is, and if that was not supplied to your office, I will happily make sure that that is.
Okay, and in terms of the mortgage contingency, was it met?
Yes, the mortgage contingency was met. The only outstanding contingency is the one we're here for today with respect to zoning.
Very good. Okay, go ahead.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Board, for hearing us here today. My name is Bryce McGuigan, attorney at Begley, Carlin & Mandio. I represent a piece of our puzzle, LLC, who is under contract to purchase the property located at 1 Sugar Maple Lane here in Levittown. The property is approximately a 7,000 square foot parcel. It's zoned residential, R2, and there is an existing 2,432 square foot single-story structure with 2 accessory parking areas on site. While the property, it's a little unique because it appears residential on the exterior and it's in a residential neighborhood. However, the interior has been outfitted as a doctor's office. It's served as Dr. Menino's office for several decades now. And obviously it's on the market and my client's under contract to purchase it. The building, like I said, 2,400 square foot building approximately. It's a single story and presently it contains numerous examination rooms, offices, there's a reception area, public restroom facilities. Like I said, for all intents and purposes, it is professional and office-like in nature. What we intend to do, a piece of our puzzle, is an existing daycare that's based in Trevose, and it's seeking to move to the Levittown area because most of its students, most of the children who it serves are in this area. The business has existed since 2015. Like I said, it operates in Trevose. It serves children ranging from 2 to 6 years old. This unique factor about a piece of our puzzle is it caters specifically to the special needs community. Many of the students at a piece of our puzzle, they have various developmental delays, maybe autistic, intellectual disabilities, or other varying degrees of need. The business primarily serves Lower Bucks County, and to serve better the children of Bristol Township, we're seeking to move to Bristol Township. But to do this, we are requesting 2 bits of relief here tonight. The first is a special exception to operate the daycare facility in the residential R2 district, and the second is a variance with respect to parking. The site has, like I mentioned, 2 different parking areas, 2 different parking pads, larger driveways, and they can fit approximately 7 vehicles. However, the Bristol Township parking ordinance requires that we have 15 parking spaces, so we're requesting a variance for those additional 8 spaces. With respect to the parking issue, which we'll get into a little bit more when I present my client's testimony, the proposed parking, in our belief, it's going to be less than the existing doctor's office, and the property is uniquely situated because right across from, I believe it is Stony Brook Drive, there's a bit of open space and there's a area where most currently for the doctor's office, patients and employees park, and we'll be utilizing that as well, I anticipate. So It's also our belief that the proposed use would represent a reduction in traffic compared to what you would expect from the doctor's office, where you have vehicles coming and going throughout the day. With ours, it'll be concentrated mostly with children being dropped off in the morning and then picked up before the evening rush hour. Apart from the special exception and apart from the single variance request, we're completely in conformance with the Bristol Township Code of Ordinances. I have with me tonight Erin Farrell, who is the owner of a piece of our puzzle. She's been more than happy, more than willing to testify to the details of the business and how the proposed use will look at this property. So unless there are any preliminary questions, I'm prepared to present Ms. Farrell's testimony. All right. Erin, come on up.
I'm going to give you another microphone. Should I stand?
You can stand. Oh.
I'll give you this one. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Can we just pull that microphone a little closer? And the green light's on, right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right. Good evening, Erin. Please introduce yourself to the board.
My name is Erin Farrell. I am the owner of Piece of Our Puzzle, LLC. Was a Falls Township resident, just recently moved, and we service a great majority of the special needs community here in Bristol Township, as well as Middleton Township, Falls Township, Yardley, Morrisville.
Right. Now, a piece of our puzzle, as I mentioned earlier, and I believe as you mentioned, it operates as a daycare, correct?
Correct.
And the business has been around since 2015, I believe?
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about your business, about the daycare. What licenses do you personally have?
So currently, the school
Yes,
in itself is licensed with Ocdel. We are a member of the PA Keys program. We have 1 star, working on our 2nd star because we are new. We are licensed by DHS as well as OMSAS, which is the Office of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. We are able to accept subsidy. We are also able to accept insurance as well as private pay.
All right. Now, the school itself, you mentioned that it caters to the special needs community here in Bristol Township and in Lower Bucks County as well. If you could just tell the board a little bit about your students.
Sure. So probably 90% of our students have some type of a special need. The school was originally started because my personal twins have autism and were kicked out of preschool when they were little guys. So we created a piece of our puzzle in order to not only support the parents of those who have children with special needs, but also to give the children with special needs an environment where they can learn, they can thrive, and there's no way they can be kicked out.
Now, your current daycare, about how many students do you have at any given time?
We have max at this point 17 students. We're very small.
Now, moving to this new location, about how many students do you plan on being able to accommodate?
So the building that is located on Sugar Maple would be able to be licensed for approximately 32 students at most. So we're actually decreasing in size from our location in Trevose. As a special needs teacher and owner of this daycare, we would never exceed 30 students within that entire building.
Right. And what age range are the students that you have?
We are 2 through 6.
Now, the business you plan to open on Sugar Maple Lane, if approved here tonight, what type of hours would you plan on operating?
So drop-off is at 8 a.m., pickup is at 5 p.m., but the majority of the session runs from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. We have a drop-off policy, so parents will pull up. We usually get out to get the student, retrieve them, and then they're able to leave.
Okay, about how long is the drop-off or pickup time frame?
I
Like
would
per
say
student, would you say?
It probably takes them, by the time they pull up to the time the child's within the facility, it's about 3 minutes.
Now, apart from the daycare, do you offer any other services?
So within the daycare, we also have on-site behavioral health team, and that goes hand in hand with having specialized students. We also do social skills as well as adult services. However, that branch will probably be discontinued very soon.
All right. Now, with respect to employees, how many employees do you have on staff total?
Total at that building at any given time would be between 8 and 11.
Now, why do you have that amount of employees on shift at any given time?
So a lot of the children, again, they require special accommodations. So with the behavioral health team, we may have a one-to-one aide with one of our students, whereas the ratio is typically 3 to 4 students per one teacher. So we do have a higher number of adults in the classroom because of the needs of our children.
Now, I'm going to pass along a few different photographs here. These are photographs. Hang on. These are photographs of your current business.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Ms. Farrell, do me a favor, just flip through those pictures. Are these photographs of your current daycare?
Yes.
And you anticipate that the daycare that, if you're approved tonight, that you open at Sugar Maple Lane, it would look very similar to what you have here,
Yes.
right? And it looks essentially like any old daycare, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Nothing crazy you're planning on doing.
Nothing crazy. We've got 4 small rooms that would be in the new building if, you know, if we're allowed to do so. So it really is pretty much a duplicate type of a floor plan.
And each room would obviously cater to a different age bracket, correct?
So each room would cater to specific number of children. So we would probably just put, you know, 4 children in one classroom, 4 children in the other. And since we have 4 separate classrooms, we don't have to put them all together in one room because that's when it gets hectic.
Of course, of course. Now, why exactly did you decide on this location here in Bristol Township?
I have been looking at Bristol Township for years. I have never been able to get a property. I found this property and I feel as though it is fantastic location for current clients, fantastic location for potential future clients. We already work with a lot of the schools in the area. We're familiar with the IU. I just feel like it would really help parents and students get to school on time and maybe give the opportunity for those who are low income in the area to use their subsidy at our school for special needs purposes.
Now, the building itself, you'll agree with me, it kind of looks like a house on the outside, but when you walk inside, fair to say it doesn't feel like a single-family home?
No,
All right.
not at all.
Well, I have some pictures of the current building, too. These were taken right from the MLS listing.
Okay.
So you probably saw these before.
I have. You?
All right, so Erin, let's take a look through this. So the first page 1 of the document I handed to you, which I guess we'll call Applicant's Exhibit B, and the photos of Piece of Our Puzzle will be Applicant's Exhibit A. So if we look at B1, is that the outside of the building?
Yes.
All right, and then same with B2?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to be nitpicky, but for the court reporter.
Totally fine.
So now when we go to B3, you start getting into the inside, right?
Yes.
And that's where we see the reception area, the waiting area, you see some offices. And this is the inside here. You plan on redesigning this to accommodate the daycare.
Yes.
But essentially, even if you didn't buy this, if someone else did, you know, if they weren't approved for a use like what you're asking for, they would have to completely remodel this anyway, correct?
Yes.
All right, and you see all the different examination rooms and public restrooms and so on and so forth?
Yes.
All right, and have you been inside the building?
I have.
All right, are these pictures an accurate representation of what the building currently looks like?
Very accurate. Yes.
Okay. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not really anticipating any changes to the actual exterior of the building itself, just the inside?
Just the inside. There's nothing to be done on the exterior. It would just be interior. Obviously, That would be the only need for us.
So the outside, you're going to keep it looking residential?
Yes,
And I think the only change you actually have planned for the outside is you're going to add a play area in the backyard, correct?
correct. The backyard is fenced in. We have play equipment, and we would add it to that play yard and just have to get, at very least, mulch. But there's really not much.
Right. And you know that having an outdoor play area is a requirement here in Bristol Township for daycares, and you plan on fulfilling that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, sitting here, you understand that to operate a daycare here in Bristol Township in the residential R2 district, you need what's called a special exception, correct?
Yes.
All right. With respect to this special exception, with respect to your use, as we sit here, is there any reason you can think of why this use would be bad or detrimental to the community?
No, I cannot.
Right. Can you think of any reason why this use wouldn't work at this particular property?
No.
With respect to, let's say, traffic, you know you're in a neighborhood. Is there any reason you can think of why this wouldn't work with respect to traffic?
No. As you had noted, across the street there is that strip that has no residents near it. So that would be utilized. However, we could fit 8 cars in those driveways.
Well, let's first talk about traffic, and then we'll pivot to parking, and we can talk about that. So what's there now, or what was there, was the Dr. Menino's office, correct?
Yes.
Right. And you would agree with me that generally speaking, traffic at a doctor's office, it's not either a morning thing or an afternoon thing. It's kind of an all-day sort of thing, more or less.
Correct.
Right. Now, with your business, I think you mentioned it earlier, but in terms of people coming and going, well, what are some of the times when that happens, the busier times for you?
So the busiest times would be 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. They're 2 of the busiest times because that's when the program starts and people are rushing in. 3 p.m. is when they need to be picked up if the program ends.
So in between those times, is it fair to say that there's not really much vehicular activity around your business?
No, there isn't.
So most of the day, it's just going to be the employees' cars and that's it. Fair enough?
Yes.
So let's talk about parking, because you mentioned it before, and the property is a little unique in where it's positioned. So I have a couple of pictures here of an aerial of the site, and we can go through this. All right, Erin, let's take a look at this. Is the pin, so we'll call this applicant's exhibit C. So if you look at the center where there's that red pin, is that 1 Sugar Maple Lane?
It is.
All right. Now, can you just explain to the board exactly what we're looking at in terms of the parking?
So where 1 Sugar Maple Lane is, there, as stated previously, are 2 large driveways. You can see one that's on either side of the building. They can each fit approximately 4 cars, and that would just be specific to 1 Sugar Maple Lane.
So apart from those 2 parking areas, you mentioned it earlier, and I mentioned it in my opening, where do a lot of the, let's put it this way, currently for the doctor's office, where do a lot of the employees and the patients park, as best you can tell?
So they typically were parking on Stony Brook Drive. If you look at the intersection of Sugar Maple and Stony Brook, to the left of that, the line of cars there, that would be another area for parking, and that's what is currently being utilized for parking.
And that's where they're parking next to. It's basically kind of a strip of open space along Stony Brook, and they're parking next to that?
Correct.
Right. And you would anticipate that your business would use that same parking that Dr. Menino's office has used for decades?
Correct.
Right. Do you see any reason why that would be an issue for your business?
No.
And so let me ask you this. So the plan, because you said that right now your business currently has a plan where students or children are picked up and dropped off in a certain designated area. Do you plan on replicating that at this property in one of those large driveways?
Yeah, at this moment, I do feel like that would be ideal. It would be the best way for the parents to come in and out safely and the child to get as close to the building as possible. So that is my thought at this time.
And just to kind of discuss exactly what relief we need for the parking. So the Bristol Township Code of Ordinances requires one space for every employee that you have at that site, along with one for every 6 children. So at any given time, I believe you're expecting to have around 10 employees, is that right?
Yes.
Give or take.
Yes.
All right, so 10 employees, then you said 30 children
Well, currently, we only have 15.
currently, but you said maybe up to 30. So
We would max out at 30. I don't see that anytime soon, but
So-
sure. Licensure reasons, yes.
realistically, you expect a lesser amount, but we're planning worst case scenario here, most amount.
Okay.
So with 30, you would need 5 parking spaces. So 5 plus the 10 for your employees, that's 15 parking spaces. Now on site, you said you could fit about 8. We're going to be conservative and say 7.
Okay.
So that's why we're asking for the variance for the additional 8 spaces.
Okay.
Is that right?
Correct.
But given the layout of the property, given the availability of the parking across the way, you don't anticipate that being an issue.
No.
And in fact, you think that the parking is going to be less intense than what Dr. Menino's office used.
I do.
So you know that my office and the township, we notified your neighbors. The township provided publication and my office sent mailers out,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But even in addition to that, did you go out and have a chance to talk with any of your neighbors?
I did. So I kind of canvassed the area, knocked on some of the doors, especially the neighbors that were behind, to the side of, in front of, and offered them literature on what we're doing, as well as my contact information if anybody had any issues moving forward. The responses that I got were all positive. That's great. Can't wait to see you. Just kind of a pleasant exchange.
And none of your neighbors are here tonight as far as you can tell?
No.
So with that, if the board has any questions, we'll be more than happy to address those.
Does anybody have any questions? Bob, anything to add? Gerard, since you're here, would you like to, any questions you'd like to ask?
No, she answered them all. But they were all answered.
Okay. So, I make a motion to approve this application. I need a second. I'll call the board. Colleen Dunn. Yes. Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Jim McMahon, yes. Okay. There you go.
Just make sure you email me the amendment and also the denial from the zoning office.
Yes.
The application and denial.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you very much, board.
Thank you.
One more thing, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I need a second. All in favor? Ayes have it.